Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today's video we're going to talk getting started with Warhammer Age of Sigmar, and today we're taking a look at the Ogor Mawtribes, in particular the Bloodgullet Mawtribe subfaction of the army. In this video we're going to go through and talk about the special rules for the Bloodgullet Mawtribe before looking at a couple of units we recommend to get started with for the faction. We'll then take a look at some other units we can use to expand upon those first couple of initial purchases, before finally finishing off the video with a little sample army list of 1,000 points for you to use as some inspiration for starting your own Bloodgullet Mawtribe army in Warhammer Age of Sigmar. And so, the Bloodgullet Mawtribe's special ability is Heralds of the Gulping God. Friendly Bloodgullet Butchers know one extra spell from the lore of Gut Magic, and in addition, friendly Bloodgullet Butchers can attempt to cast one extra spell in your hero phase. So, straight away, this is two things. First of all, it is keyword butchers, so this does mean that Slaughtermasters will get this ability as well, and, you're getting that extra spell and the ability to cast it as well. Now, probably the only thing I would say is a little bit of a downside is the fact that there are not that many spells at probably 1,000 points you're going to want to cast. But this does give you a great lot of redundancy across the table and allowing you to split your force into a couple of different hammer parts. And so, to get started with, the Slaughtermaster I think is the best place to start. For me, he is the better version of the Butcher. His spell on his War Scroll might not quite be as good as the Butcher's spell, but he does have the really cool ability to stick his hand into his pot and throw some stuff at his friends in order to give them a variety of different buffs or potentially wound himself. Now, he can give out +1 to wound, which is generally what you're going to be wanting to do, and his Rock Chomper's spell will allow you, until the start of your next hero phase, rolls made for enemy units within 3 inch for the purposes of Gulping Bite do D6 mortals instead of D3. Alongside this model, we have the Ogre Gluttons, a fantastic battle line choice for ogres. 6 Ogre Gluttons are going to put a ton of meat and wounds on the table for you, and you're going to have a variety of different weapon options. You can choose to either go with pairs of clubs, which are going to give you 4 attacks at Ren -1 damage 2, or you can go with a single club dropping down to 3 attacks, but you also get the Iron Fist, which will enable you to do some mortal wounds back to your opponent if you roll 6s to save. Now, they can also get +1 to charge, and they can also get an extra attack with their champion on top of this as well. And so, looking at some other units, the basic Butcher is a solid secondary option, mainly because I think his spell is one of those spells and one of those things in the game that's just so much fun to use. His spell is called Voracious Maw, and what this does is to D3 mortal wounds to a unit within the range of the spell. You then roll a dice. On a 4+, it does another D3 mortal wounds, and if you roll a dice again, it does another D3 mortal wounds if you roll a 4+, and it continues going until you fail to roll a 4+, an absolute fun mechanic for the game. Now, you can also take Nobblers, which I think are a really solid option inside this particular subfaction, where you're relying on the magical power of buffs and debuffs to get up. This enables you to play in a much more beta strike sort of way, giving you a good screen for some of your ogre units in your army. Nobblers are dirt cheap. 20 models for 100 points is absolutely dirt cheap for your ogres, and they also have their Trappers rule where they can actually do some damage if your opponent decides to actually charge them. Alongside the Nobblers, we have Man-Eaters. These are a good versatile utility unit for your army. First of all, they can have a cool rule called Been There Done That, where they get to pick a variety of different abilities to apply to them during the game. It can be things like Extra Move, for example. Now, they do have shooting attacks, all of them as well, with the Ogre Pistols and Throwing Stars and Throwing Knives. This gives them, a nice little bit of utility in that. Just 1 attack, but D3 damage is nice on them. And then they've got a variety of different attacks as well in melee. Now, lastly, the last model I want to talk about is another fun utility piece like the Man-Eaters, and that is the Gorger. The Gorger is really interesting. First of all, he can start off the table, and he then can ambush on from the edges of the table. But his big ability for me is the Gruesome Devourer's ability, where if he's part of an Ogor Mawtribe's army and he's eating, so in other words, he's in combat, enemy units within 9 inch cannot receive Inspiring Presence or Rally Commands. This is great for hitting backfield objective holders for your opponent, or potentially even tagging an enemy unit that's in combat with something much more fighting that it needs to deal with, and the Gorger just sits on the side, stopping your enemy being able to receive Inspiring Presence. And so here we have our sample army list for Bloodgullet. Now we've got on the grand strategy, no place for the weak, trying to destroy our opponent's battle line units on the table. Then we've got a triumph for Bloodthirsty. I just think rerolls to charge for me are really important with ogres and how they work, with lots of their different abilities, legion's abilities, working off getting the charge. Now, for our general, we've gone with a Slaughtermaster. He's going to have the Gastromancer command trait. What this does is this actually gives him access to all the different spells in the lore, so we're going to get the 2, but this is in addition to any other spells he knows, which means we can pick a spell from the generic lore, and for that we've gone for Ghost Mist. I think Ghost Mist is really useful in an ogre army that's going to want to sort of play on the beta strike. This can put up some good shooting defenses for you. Now, we've also got a Butcher who's going to have 2 spells, Greasy Deluge and Blood Feast, the only 2 spells that are actually going to matter for our army from the lore of Gut Magic. But this gives us, like I said, with the ability to cast Ghost Mist in there as well, and also their own Warscroll spells, a great bit of redundancy across the table. Now, battle line, we've got 2 units of 6 Ogre Gluttons, both with the pairs of clubs and blades, and then other units, we have 20 Nobblers, which will form a really good screen, and then a single Gorget for some nice distraction piece. Everything is wrapped up in a battle regiment for a 1-drop force. We're 20 points under, so a good chance we are going to get that rerollable charge triumph. 87 wounds on the table is pretty decent for this points value. A lot of that coming from the fact we have 20 Nobblers, but also 12 Gluttons put in a decent amount of wounds on the table as well. 1-drop army, as mentioned, thanks to that battle regiment. If you've got some ideas on a Bloodgullet army, let us know down in the comments below. And so that's the end of the video. We hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And while you're at it, why don't you drop a comment down below letting us know what you enjoyed about the video. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our little community here at Cinderful Gaming, you can do so by joining our Discord server, which is linked down in the video's description. Also linked down in the video's description are the best ways to help support the channel, which is our Patreon and YouTube members. As Patreon and YouTube members, you'll get to help decide what content the channel focuses on when we're not focusing on new releases, and you'll also get your name shouted out at the end of the video. So a special thanks to all our Patreons: Christian Weir, Soren, Kenny Lyle, Alder and Shot First, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, The Rising Ape, Q Dynamic, Anthony B, JJ Austrian, Average Wargamer, Domir, Mark Harvey, James Cater, Bloobs, Benjamin Suarez, Redman, Aaron DeHaven, and Kevin Bowman. And to our YouTube members as well: Green Roots Gaming, Kenton Young, Ronya, Lock, The Johnny84, David Ellsworth, Wolfric Nick, Broken Chef, Ariana Edwards, Revenar, Pink Nico Fire, Robin Man Killer, Monty's Tabletop Terrain, John Castle, Davis Weir, and James South. Lastly, if you'd also like to help support the channel in another way, you can do so by grabbing some channel merch off either our Teespring store or off our Ko-fi store, both of which, as well as the Patreon and YouTube members, are linked in the video's description. Once again, thank you all for watching. Stay safe, everyone. Stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.